pleasure to be here with you today. I want to clear up because Ted Perry, my good friend and partner in this world, was supposed to be here today. He is actually, now I'm going to give him a shout out. He's watching the live cast, and I have my phone, and he's going to text me when I screw up. So, well, there he goes. Anyway. So I will move around a little bit. I'm not going to be too stagnant up here. We got a lot of information to go over, a short time to get it to you. But it's very important. And you know, I look at the operators out here, and that's the background that I come from. I mean, this is my 39th year in correction. Started when I was 2, and it's sort of been a evolution of events that you see when you're operating facilities that transition very easily into this side, into the private sector side, where we're talking about design, where we're talking about planning, actual building, construction methods, items that need to be in a facility. When you look, you know, you think, you know, what keeps me up at night? My good friend Greg often writes often about what keeps you up at night. I'm sure, Commissioner, there are a lot of things that keep you up at night, and so, but when you're operating a facility like a lot of us have done, you know, you sit there and you go, all right, you know, do I have enough staff? You know, what's the inmate population doing? Do we, you know, those operational questions that come into play all. But and sometimes, not all the time, sometimes the maintenance is taken. Typically say that, you know, we want the routine to be routine. What do we mean? Well, when you turn on a light switch, what do you want? You want the lights to come on. When you flush a toilet, that good Willoughby toilet back there, you want it to flush. You want the water to be there. You want those things that make normal operations to stay normal. But there's a lot that make that happen inside a correctional facility. Just like Joe was talking about, when you have a 24/7, 365 with a bunch of knuckleheads in there that actually don't really care, and those operators out there, I know a lot of the architects, you understand all this stuff. When you're designing, all those things have to come into play. And how do you maintain that? How do you keep that going? Well, we do. As CGL as a company, of course, we have a justice services side. We do project management. We do facility. We assist with design, with planning, and all that kind of stuff. That's been a bread and butter part of our company for many years. But also the facility maintenance side has been as well. We do maintenance in a lot of large facilities. We have jails all over. We do the Richmond City Jail. We do the Georgia Department of Juvenile Justice statewide, Baltimore City Jail, on and on. Big facilities, big agencies that we provide maintenance service in. And you're sitting there going, well, hey, we got maintenance people. I mean, our biggest competitor is self-performing. Agencies that have their own companies or their own maintenance people. But a lot of times, because people get complacent with maintenance, that's where we have two big avenues that we find helps our business model. That's initially when we go in, and you're going to hear me talking about extending the life cycle of a building. Extending the life cycle of a building to optimize your investment. And then you're going to, the other end of the spectrum is falling all to pieces. Where you've waited for years and you've deferred maintenance. Where you haven't spent that money or you haven't really paid attention to what it means to do certain things with equipment, with systems, with whatever inside your facility, and now it's so far gone, you're scratching your head, what do we do? When you come in and analyze the cost of that deferred maintenance, what it has caused your facility to now have to face and deal with. So those two things, but so on the front end, the big thing, the front end side is very important if you're considering building a new facility. What does it mean to have a comprehensive maintenance program? Let's see if I can make this work. Our goals today, this is what, and I'm going to be quick through this stuff because I want to give you some answers, and I want to give you some time to ask some questions, and I'm going to throw some facts and figures out there that certainly important that you understand about costs, where costs really come in. We want, hopefully, to understand how maintenance affects the total cost of ownership, understand how maintenance affects every phase of the facility development, where you are now, where you're sitting now. We need to build a new facility. How does this maintenance play in? Effective maintenance on sustainability, which is a big thing in today's world, and the real value of maintenance. The real value of maintenance. This is something that, and in the country, there's, I don't know, I say probably a little less than 1,000 state prisons, a little less than 1,000 state prisons countrywide, throughout the country. Over half of those were built between 1980 and 2000. Now, what does that mean? They're getting old. And that daily grind on the equipment, it's getting to the point of either replace the whole facility. I know you're facing replacing big units and spending big money. So that's something we want to deal with. And safety. That's another issue that is very important and that people sometimes forget in maintenance, and what the real cost of that is. I mean, how many times have somebody, if you're doing maintenance and you see somebody doing something wrong, and you just glance past that. Somebody's on a ladder not being supported. Somebody is working on an electrical system and they're not doing it correctly. They don't have the right equipment to get it done. And it's like a child at a hot stove. You see a child at a hot stove, what's your first natural reaction? Back up, get away, because you know what the results could be. But sometimes in maintenance we don't do that, and we wind up with a situation that's going to cost you a lot of money. That's another big focus on an optimal maintenance program, because that costs you a lot of money through lost time, lost wages, neglect, now your medical costs. All those things come into play. Backseat driver, that's another example that most people, you got a backseat driver, they're always telling you what you do, and you say, well, I can drive, don't bother me. Mike Smith, I ride with him, I'm pointing all the time, and he said, stop, I got it, Well, that, in the same thing in maintenance, one of our key components are the safety of making sure that that's part of what we do. Total cost of ownership. Building level breakout. An initial building of a correctional facility. This is what you see initially. And what's the biggest part of the pie right there? The construction. What construction costs now? Somebody give me a number of construction cost per square foot right now. What would it be? What do you think, Larry? $465 to $485. So we're close to $500 a square foot, and that's on the conservative end. So you're going to spend a lot of money initially going through and building this thing. Now let's take another look. Over the bigger picture, over the life of that facility, look what is the bigger cost of that whole operation. The correctional facility operations. The other stuff actually is concerned. If you've got a 20-year life cycle, the correctional facility operations are what's going to be the biggest expenditure that you have. That's staffing. That's equipment. That's all those kind of things that over that life cycle that you need to focus on. And so to get the optimal out of that, the maintenance, the maintaining of that building over the 20-year, 30-year life cycle of that facility has to be thought about in the initial stages. First off, you're going to be thinking about building, which you need to do. You have to understand what those costs are going to be, but also don't forget over the life cycle how much you're going to spend on operating that facility, and how do you optimize that to make that facility work and run for a much longer period of time. Let's go to construction costs. Well, let me back up. Construction costs, I went through that. The planning, design costs, capital costs, again, you're going to spend a whole bunch of money with that. Operational costs, staffing, energy costs. And when we talk about energy, we're talking about not just, I'm talking about your whole facility, from your water to your electrical to all those things that come in that you have a reoccurring payment on. How many times have you been in a facility, and I go into them all the time, when you go into an old facility and when you see water just running somewhere, either in a shower, in a laboratory somewhere where the inmates have got something totally jerry-rigged that it's just going to maintain, the water's going to flow forever, and just walk by it. What kind of costs are you incurring with that? What kind of costs? Well, you got costs of the water. You got costs of the water coming in. You got costs of the water going out. Expensive. I deal with county jails, with jails. And who's the big? And we build a lot of these facilities in rural areas. Guess who the best customer for that city or municipality is? Who is it? The jail. Why? Because we're spending a ton of money. We're floating that city with energy costs that we're paying either through the electricity or the sewage treatment, the water that you're paying for. So all those things you got to figure over that whole life cycle with energy costs, with proper maintenance. How can you reduce that? And looking at systems that you'll see a lot of those systems here today. How does it affect either way? And things that coming in, how it's serviced, and where you're getting the light fixtures. Light fixtures. Big energy drain. Are you putting the right kind of lights in? How are you servicing those lights with your energy costs? Maintenance costs, preventive and predictive maintenance. Preventive maintenance, what do I mean? What do we mean with preventive maintenance? What do you think we're talking about?
Maintain something, so like changing the oil on your car, you're preserving the engine.
Exactly. And how many times do you go into a facility and again, it's just, this is what we find and where we find that we can add value to the construction of a facility. A lot of places are spot on. Without a doubt, they're spot on. A lot of maintenance, and maintenance is sometimes put on the back shelf because, you know, we got wrench turners. We got people that are getting dirty. We got folks that play in the dirt. I mean, we're the folks that are out there trying to keep that thing going, and so sometimes we're not at the limelight inside that facility operations. But things like preventive maintenance then could get overlooked because I'm sure they're doing what they're supposed to be doing back there, but we're not. Preventive maintenance of changing filters and changing the servicing equipment with the oil, or like with your laundry equipment, servicing that laundry equipment like it's supposed to be serviced to get that maximum life cycle out, and being able to track. That's not just something, well, we say, okay, I think it's time to change the filters and clean the coils in the chillers. No, there's got to be a system in place that you can track, keep, and know what you're spending to get that done. Life cycle replacement costs. What do you think it costs to replace? What are the replacement costs now for equipment? Where do you think that's at? Very high. And a lot of that goes into what we were talking about earlier with supply and demand inside the facilities now. I think that as the industry has contracted, your ability to find stuff has contracted, and the price has gone up. Spending premium amounts of money when you're replacing correctional equipment this day and age, and the failure to maintain it has become very expensive. Repair costs, because now what happens is sometimes you got our total way that we're designing facilities has changed. The technology has driven it that way, and so that person that just had very limited skills now can't repair or can't work on the types of equipment that you have in your facility or will have in your facility. So you've got two options. You either have somebody there that knows, which you're going to pay premium for them, or you expend a lot of money with outsourcing to bring in qualified people to work on your equipment. So you're going to, again, if it's not maintained properly, you're spending a lot of money. We always encourage people to do deep dives and to look, where are you spending your money? I'll say, we can't afford to do that. Well, that outsourcing, we can't afford to do that. Well, maybe not. But what are you spending? Just take a deep dive and look at what you're spending now. Look at the service contracts that you have. Look at the people that you bring in on a monthly basis to do certain things because you're not doing what you needed to do, or you defer that maintenance over the years. What is that actual cost? Where is that actual cost? And when you take a look at that, you say, wow, we're spending a lot of money. You have to be spending a lot of money to properly or to keep a facility operating. There's just no question about it. The difference is, again, preventive maintenance. Those are the things that we do regularly scheduled. Regularly scheduled, those things that are going that you know that you have to do. You have to have a preventive maintenance plan if you're going to effectively extend the life cycle of your facility. It's just like changing the oil in your car. If you're not doing that, you're getting in trouble. Corrective maintenance, there you have it. That's again where if something breaks, whatever, you can see them right here. We'll just go. It's just things such as like if you have a clogged toilet, or if you have a piece of kitchen equipment that's not operating, that's your corrective. That's where we go in. You send in a work order, we go fix that. But the total maintenance and maintenance practices that we have to look at, and you just take a look, and I'm not going to just blur everybody up with that thing, but those are all the things that you have to consider in a total maintenance program. I mean, what about inmate labor? Are you using inmate labor? Are you training inmate labor? Safety program, CMMS, which is, I'll go over that in a minute, which is the computerized maintenance program that actually drives a maintenance system. So that, we just don't guess when it's time to do a corrective job or when it's time to do a preventive job. That system actually provides that information daily with costs, with analysis, with wrench time, with a system that we put in place. You know exactly how many hours your maintenance people are working, where they're working, and what it costs for them to do the job. Planning, design, and construction, where all the fun happens. All our architects that are in here, they know that it's all part of that design of getting the opportunity to look at a fresh site to develop a beautiful new jail, beautiful new prison. Yes, sir. The question is, or the statement is that if you defer and you don't do an effective maintenance program, or you do minimal maintenance in your facility, is it cheaper to go in and do a refurb or redo whatever inside that facility or build another one? And there is an actual model that we do use. And for every 5 years that you don't do maintenance, it multiplies. It multiplies drastically, and you are talking about 5 times more on expense to renovate. It's very expensive. When you go in and particularly start doing updates, if you've got a jail that was built in the 80s, where are your codes now? When you start doing major upgrades on systems, then you're affecting all kind of things. And when you interrupt the code, like your fire life safety codes, your ADA codes, all those kind of things come into play, not just along with the equipment costs that have changed, because sometimes they're antiquated, they're out of date. You're going to have to change entire systems to meet the demand of the new piece of equipment that you have to put in now. They don't make that one anymore. We see that a lot. A lot of things with locks, a lot of things with electronic equipment. You go in and you try to piece some of those stuff, and you just can't find that particular item anymore. It's gone. They ain't made that in 20, 30 years. When you're designing, it is important that you have maintenance involvement, which I deal with a lot of architects, a lot of those that are in this room that ask questions, a lot of owners that ask questions about simply, I went in a jail the other day, and to do maintenance, the man had to be a contortionist. To get in the chase, to get up, to get around, to work on stuff. And I'm asking the guy, how do you do this? He said, the best way I don't know. We have to invent things. Have to invent tools to get up and be able to work on equipment inside a chase, inside the facility. So, and wrong-sized equipment, where you go in and you don't put the correct piece of equipment in the facility. Or ventilation, or what? There's so many issues that are involved in the design that the maintenance person can have a lot of input with. And I mean, that's something that's very important, from right-sized equipment to where you place the equipment, to how the equipment rooms need to be designed to have effective maintenance practices every day. They can make it difficult. That's just a classic example. You can get some things can get designed that, how many times you say, well, how on God's earth did they expect us to work with that? And what does it do? It looked good, looked fantastic, but when it comes to all practicality, how do you make it work? That's where you get operators, those folks that's been running jails forever. Same thing. Same kind of decision-making process involved with that. Where am I on time? I'm going to get on past that one right there. Maintenance supports operations. That's a big thing. I'm an operator. That is my big role with this company as a former operator of multiple correctional facilities. How can maintenance support the operations, the day-to-day, the folks that are in there protecting the community, supervising these folks every day? You know, we were talking about this the other day, that it's one of the toughest jobs. If you look, listed at number 5, most stressful job is that of a correctional officer. That of a correctional officer. You know what's just above that? Those that have to supervise the correctional officer. That's a fact. And so, talking about life cycle, it can be tough. So how do we support? How do you make that facility better for those people that are working in there? All right, let's talk about that. Impact on energy inside that facility. Properly maintained systems function more efficiently, without question. So you're going to save money there. Maintenance practices, involvement, get your folks involved, get the maintenance people involved. Preventive, predictive maintenance, inspections on all kind of things, and technology has a serious impact on energy. Sustainability, absolutely part of the how we're doing things now, as far as waste management, is energy efficient, airflow, lighting, all that kind of stuff. I want you to take a look at some of the things you see. Because folks, I'm telling you what, a lot of people never go really look in the bowels of their facility. They never look at how things need to look and how they actually do look. We find this all the time. I mean, we find this in facilities where they say, oh boy, we've got a good place. There ain't nothing wrong with us. And then you go bring pictures, or you take them down and look of actually what you've got. We're working and I don't want to bring it, but I mean, there's so many bad things that can go wrong with the deferred maintenance when you don't do it correctly. Look at the filters over here. That's what you see. Yeah, and then where leaks and rust, when it should look like this. This is where we came in, and this is what it was, and this is after. Of actually maintaining and looking at pieces of equipment. Again, I keep harping on this because it's something you got to think about. Well-developed and execute maintenance planning drives productivity and lowers costs. Very important, and I'm going to get quick through this so we can get through it. Here's the typical responses that you have and what it means. Don't fix it. A lot of times that happens. Now I'm telling you, 2008 when things went the economy went south, a lot of jails, you know what their response was when we had things break? Just don't fix it. We ain't got the money. Can't fix it. Or this is one back up. This is one that's typical, the reactive. We'll fix it when? When it breaks. That's the maintenance plan. We're going to fix it when it breaks. After it breaks, you're spending a lot of money. And then you have planned, where you can budget. You say, all right, I'm going to put a budget in because I know that I need to replace things at certain times. And so you do that, but you wait till the end, and so that you're losing efficiencies all the way through. And then the proactive is where we're actually working not just to fix it, but to improve it, to make the operations better, and doing it in a way that's strategic as well. Reoccurring maintenance, it reduces, and this, let me just go to this one so I can, this is a classic example of what doing proper preventive and corrective maintenance can do. This was a system that in Georgia Department of Juvenile Justice, we've been doing that account for a long time, a statewide system. Their work orders were, this is in 2002, that was pretty much what their work orders were at that number. And as we improved that whole system of work orders to 2007 to have 30,000 work orders, preventive work orders a year, look what happened to the correctives. So instead, because of increasing just preventive work orders, where you go in and maintain and keep that oil changed in that car, keep things working, that reactive, corrective work order system, it brought that down. So we're spending less money on correctives, less time on correctives, things that goes back to that again, what's keeping you up at night? How is my facility really operating, and is it the routine? Is it doing what it's supposed to be doing? Optimization, the knee-jerk reactions, we get away from that. Preventive maintenance plans are just imperative in your facilities. Let's talk about, I'm going to move this thing quick. CMMS is a big thing that we do in a lot of places, and that's where we computerize your maintenance program, where we're able to track all the indicators of your maintenance through the information that we put in. And that's that you can, actually have it. Everybody would have access to that. Anybody that you want, from the commissioner to the warden to the jail commander to whomever, can look at that information and see what's going on in real time, of what folks are doing, where that work order is, who's working on that work order, when it was completed. All that stuff is now taken care of. Detailed asset inventory, we know what you've got, when it was put in, what life cycle of that thing should be, how to maintain it, identification of all that, job tasks specific to each asset, frequencies of when we're doing preventive maintenance. Again, that's just a busy slide that shows how, from a phone call to get things done, how long it should take getting things done very quickly. Life cycle costs, you can look there and see with the deferred, this goes back to what Larry was talking about. You get, by doing it properly, this is what it reduces the life cycle cost significantly. Understanding the total cost, again, is a lot of folks, I'll say this, and I can't emphasize it enough, is that failure to understand the total cost of your facility with deferring maintenance or not having a proper maintenance program costs you money. You look at what you're spending, there's busy, but again, it goes up into a nutshell. If you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing or what you think you're doing, it's costing you money. Let me talk about how we do our operations, what we do. And we're wide. We do work from coast to coast. But what we do is we typically go in, if we get a contract, where I just started a contract that we have several facilities in Virginia, but we have recruiting, we hire within that area. We bring in experts from all over, we have a world of resources to bring in and do assessments, get a facility started, then we recruit and hire within the community. We bring in the people, but when we pay well, we incentivize, and manage well. And that's what we do. So no, if we go where, and we travel, that's part of what I do, part of what Ted Perry does. All of us, we travel this, I'm somewhere every week looking at a facility, working with our managers, optimizing what we're doing, working with our customers and clients to make sure that they're getting the benefit of our services. So, and again, it's there are several others that are out there that do that, but the whole emphasis again is to put maintenance in your mind to understand why it is important when you're building a jail. Questions and answers. I'll answer. You ask a question. I got Ted on speed dial right here if I need to get him. Any questions? Well, it's certainly been a pleasure. I know a lot of people in the room, and I will be around under the tent and around if you have any questions, or just as that, I'll be happy to talk to you and give you some examples of what we do and where we do it. Thank you so much.